Here's a stat that should make every construction company owner sit up straight. 82% of the people who become managers have little to no leadership training. 82%. That means the person running your crew, managing your subs, and making decisions that affect your margin, they're probably promoted because they were great with a hammer, not because anyone taught them how to lead. Today, we're starting a brand new series where we unpack a 12-week leadership program built from the ground up for construction. I'm here with the person who designed it, Bruce Baker. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Bruce, let's jump right in with the term you use a lot called accidental manager.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean in the construction context?
Well, it's quite a problem North America wide. We've got about 500,000 vacancies in the construction industry.
Wow.
Which is absolutely insane. And what makes it worse is that they're filling leadership roles. And when I say leadership roles, anything from site lead, getting ready for foreman, site super, and further. These people are just not ready yet. So, and company is not the company at the end of the day. It's the situation that we have. It's the limited resource capacity that we have. So we promote these people into these roles that they're just not ready for.
And what are the costs of that? Because it's not just a soft skills problem, right?
Yeah. So the cost at the end of the day is also astronomical. You know, we always talk about turnover and the cost of turnover with employees, and this has been going on for years now. But the cost is truly astronomical, up to 150% of someone's salary, an annual base, right? Wow. But in addition to that, you've got, you know, in the construction world, you've got safety-related incidences, you've got project or job times that are delayed, margin erosion. I mean, how many redos do we have to do? Material, labor, etc. It's incredibly impactful on margin on the business. And by the way, your best carpenter, you've lost them now because he or she is the manager now, right? And they're struggling to do that because they're just not prepared for it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. So a lot of companies would say, well, we do send people to training, lunch and learn, safety courses, maybe the odd seminar. So why isn't that enough?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, and I say this to a lot of clients and businesses, construction businesses that I meet with or talk with, the amount of learning that takes place in the classroom or the traditional classroom set it's okay. Around about, I'd say about maybe 30, if you're lucky, 40% retention or engagement. But when they get out in the field, there's no major focus or intention in terms of how much is actually sticking, right? And we're lucky if we have about 10 to 15, the highest I've seen is about 20, 25% retention of that information so they can actually apply it. And why do we want to apply it? Well, we want to see impact. And I'm sure we'll talk about it in the next couple of minutes. But when I spend X amount of money on training my crew, training my leaders, etc., I want to see a return on investment. And a lot of companies, a lot of business owners send hoping that, you know, the site supervisor training will be good. And that's the last thing we even think of. And we turn a blind eye to it because I don't want to think about the money I've just spent. And there's no tangible change in my environment. And that environment is the erosion, the delayed jobs, et cetera, safety incidences, turnover, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, that is 100% true. Absolutely. Yeah. So now what's different about the Leadership and Management Development Series?
The LMDS program is different because, one, we've got a 12-week structure. And a lot of managers or a lot of business owners would say, you know what, where am I going to get the time for my site supers to actually go and do this? There's jobs coming up. It's busy. They just don't have the time. So we've taken that into consideration. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a couple of minutes. But 12-week program, 6 modules. And the huge difference between this one is the retention component. How do they retain, and how does the person, the sponsoring company or the business owner at the end of the day actually get a return on investment? And that's the big surprise with this program and how it's structured, is actually giving them a tangible return on that investment.
Okay, so walk us through that structure at a high level.
Absolutely. Well, we've got the structure, as I said, is 12 weeks, 6 modules. And typically what we see is classroom training, a lot of hours spent in classroom training, people going out into the field. And as I said in the beginning, very little retention, very little return, if any, on the company's investment. In this case, we have that 12-week structure where the first week, anywhere between 2 to 3, 4 hours of training, there's that short burst of training. They then go out into the field. They apply it, that challenge component. And when they come back the second week, now different companies do different things with us, meaning, the one client we have would have the second week do a complete skip and then come back the next week. Now that next week, be it the skip or be it in the following week, once the classroom training has been done, we do what we call as a mastermind. And the mastermind is once the participants are given the challenge or the assignment to go out in the field and do it, the mastermind is an opportunity for the participants to get together with the facilitator and talk about how they actually applied or implemented what they learned in classroom. The mastermind is also there for, a peer group challenge. And we know that there's a lot of learning, there's a lot of accountability within the peer group as opposed to the supervisor always looking over. So we find that there's a ton more learning that goes on and accountability. The cool part about it, and what we've also seen, is when one site super actually excelled, really crushed it, got some great return. The other one, well, not so much, had a couple of challenges. They actually help each other. So we're now seeing that developing of relationships where at one stage it was site super for their jobs and that site super for their jobs. The collaboration is only social after the case, as opposed to developing and creating mentor relationships in the field based on the challenges that they're actually that are put in front of them. And in this case, the challenge is leadership and management development.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that this is research backed. Can you give us the foundation?
Yeah, absolutely. The well-known model 70-20-10, right? 70% challenge, 20% relationship developmental stuff, and the rest, 10%, is the classroom related stuff. It's a model that is phenomenally effective, but it's not used very often. And the reason why it's not used is because there's far more investment in terms of challenge, in terms of structure and focus on retention. Now, that said, it's a great model because of the retention component. So right now, typically, it's a complete flip in business when it comes to training, on any training. It's a good 80% in classroom and 20% in the field, if you're lucky.
If you're lucky. Yeah.
And that's the problem, because when that happens, you get a little bit more retention, but you don't get the solid retention. You don't get the accountability you're looking for. So the 70-20-10 component is 70% challenge, 20% developmental relationship-wise, and 10% classroom. So if we put that in a practical situation as it relates to this training, the LMDS program, we're looking at, as I said, classroom, which is 10% first week. Then they go into the field and that 70% is challenge. You can see the nature of the assignments that they're given to actually go into the field and do something with it. Returning, and that is that developmental or relationship component, right? And that developmental relationship component is when they come back and they hold each other accountable. And the cool part about that is that extends into the field again. So when you look at the theoretical component and you look at that 70% challenge together with that, right, that 30% developmental accountability component, that it's inevitable that retention is going to be there. It's inevitable that they're going to learn and actually start applying it their way within their team.
Yeah, that's tremendous.
Yeah.
Like that's very valuable for anybody who has a construction company and they could use some leadership training.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Helps it to stick better.
Yeah, 100%.
So who is this for? Who's the ideal client for this?
Yeah. The ideal client in terms of construction, again, I know we've said that a couple of times, but I want to make it clear it's specifically customized for construction. And just before I answer that, Trevor, one other thing as well is that it's not a cookie cut program. So one company, we're not going to do it the same thing for one company to another. It's very customized, highly customizable, but who it's for are your folks, site supers, foremen that are already in their leadership position and are needing the development, needing the growth. The same old saying goes is that stop working harder, work smarter. Say that to a construction leader at the moment, and you're not going to get a very nice response, right? They work really, really hard. But it is true, their lives don't have to be that hard when it comes to leading and managing people. There are far more efficient ways to deal with it, and the mission of this training program is to liberate, is to bring something that is far more efficient and something that sticks and is something that belongs to them. It's theirs. They own it.
Okay, and what about the company? What does the sponsoring organization need to commit to?
We're looking at about, on a weekly basis, together with the classroom training, together with the challenging in-field assignments, and then with mastermind accountability session, we're looking at about 8 to 10 hours. And 8 to 10 hours, I'm not saying just for the participant or the site super or foreman that goes through the training, but there is a relationship and engagement between this site super's manager, right? And it is a collaborative process. So while they're in the field and they're doing their thing, they all get an application, in-field application that they can use on their phones or their tablets. And that application is actually feeding their supervisor the information of what's actually going on. The facilitator, in this case, let's say it's me, the facilitator is actually engaging with that individual supervisor. So the 8 to 10 hours I talk of is all of that combined. At the end of the day, it's a good couple of hours, but it's a huge return. And at the end of the day, it's such a small investment of time.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. All right, Bruce. So we're going to be spending the next several episodes going deep into each module. But if somebody is listening right now and they think this is exactly what my team needs, what's the first step?
So first thing that people need to do is go to www.4workplaces, the number 4workplaces.com. And on there is a really interesting little page that provides you with more information. It also provides you with some initial assessments, right? And a big part of this program is the leader truly understanding themselves. So what are their natural behaviors? What are their natural drivers or motivators? How does that impact their team? We also get involved with some emotional intelligence assessments as well, just to give people a general basic foundation of what they can expect from the training program. And of course, if they're interested, they can just go ahead, fill out the contact form, and we'll get back to them ASAP.
In the next episode, we're going to break down exactly how this two-tier model works and why it's the difference between training that sticks and the training that gets forgotten before they hit the parking lot. See you next time.